10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to the Whack Whack Recap, your weekly recap of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Whack Whack Attack. Today is Friday, February 24th, which is the 4th February of Friday, and we're going to go through the best of Rocket Pool news from the last week. So I want to start off by talking about a little bit of stuff that was happening on Twitter last week about Rocket Pool's oDAO. There was a particular person who was spreading a lot of news in the interest of saying that our ETH holders are susceptible to corruption by members of Rocket Pool's Oracle DAO. For those of you who don't know, the Rocket Pool's Oracle DAO includes people like Superphase, Anthony Sassano, Bankless. So those are like people that you might know of. But however, on top of that, it also includes organizations like Etherscan and client teams and really well established members of like the core Ethereum protocol. So it's not just like YouTube influencers or community members kind of stuff, like, and I use that term influencers with quotation marks because I'm going to talk about that later. But there was a lot of information going around. Some information was true, some information was true but laced with kind of making it sensationalized. So people reacted really strongly to some of the information that was put out there. So Superphase released this post and he says it's against my judgment to comment on this Twitter dude's FUD, but whatever you all ought to know, I'm not secretive or shamed by my work. So Fizz goes on to explain what RPL is, what Rocket Pool is, how the project kind of matured and the tokenomics were developed, and how he kind of got involved with that, and then what it means to be on the oDAO, and how there needs to be like the trusted party that does a few jobs, such as scrubbing and Merkle tree generation and all that kind of stuff. And he says the oDAO system is an effective gatekeeper for the network right now. I do tend to agree that the payment is excessive, but personal belief is that the correct way to align the payment is to include more oDAO members to further decentralize this vetting scrubbing process. So in Rocket Fuel on Tuesday's episode, I talked about how we should have double the amount of oDAO members, and then Fizz says none of this has been secret. It's plain on chain, and we discuss Oracle DAO duties every 28 days in the Rocket Pool Discord, which is not true. We literally do it twice a week in the Discord, and all of these points have been covered like to death for months and months and months, and over a year now even. And then at the bottom, Fizz says Rocket Pool mini pools are fully decentralized, RPL not so much, but that's inconsequential. So so Fizz, was defending himself, which is absolutely his prerogative to do, and I support Fizz in that. Anthony Sassano also came out and defended himself. He says, I have the Twitter person blocked, but I need to make a public statement here, and this guy is dragging my name through the mud over the Rocket Pool oDAO for no good reason. And then he said, anyone who watches the Daily Gwei knows I donate all my oDAO rewards to the Protocol Guild. And then he's talking about like what rewards have come through, how much he's donated already, how he kind of had to repay his loans. But after that, everything is being donated. And he gives that information as well. So, and then Sassano in the Rocket Pool Discord talked about how he is not an influencer, he's an educator, and basically his goal was never to be an influencer, but he just wanted to educate people that he does for free every day on the Daily Gwei. He came third in the tree gen after investing thousands of dollars in infrastructure out of his own pocket. He donates all his RPL rewards to the Protocol Guild, and he's one of the most active oDAO members when it comes to posting on Discord and promoting Rocket Pool. And he says, what more do you want from an oDAO member? I really don't get it. So I think the idea is that Rocket Pool community members need to be protected, and there's this idea that there was this idea spread that there's potential for harm here from the Oracle DAO towards Rocket Pool stakers, people holding our ETH and stuff. But yeah, like I just wanted to like cover that story from this angle, and like, you know, other people have made a lot of statements about it. You can watch the episodes from Tuesday and Wednesday to get some of that information. Okay, next we had this info from Joe about how we are going to skip over version 1.8 of the Smartnode stack and go straight to version 1.9, which will get everything ready for Atlas. Joe says, you know, Rocket Pool is excited to release version 1.9. So these are the release notes for the patch notes. They're done, and it gives you an idea of everything that's going to be included in the Atlas upgrade. So the support for LEB8s, migration of existing mini pools, migration of solo stakers. Then there's support for Zhejiang testnet, and Nimbus split mode, and Lodestar will be added as consensus client. So then, you know, there's what happened to version 1.8, and he says bad timing basically. And then all the different client updates will be getting updates in version 1.9, which is Geth, Nethermind, Lighthouse, Lodestar, Nimbus, Prism, Teku, Grafana, Prometheus. But he says Besu has been intentionally held back because there was a bug in its interaction with the Smartnode stack. So don't upgrade to Besu if you are using Besu, which I am, so I haven't upgraded. And then there's information about Geth and Nimbus and Lodestar, giving all the details about the new Grafana dashboard, and how all that information is going to work. And so there's new commands as well in the command line. So about reducing bond, begin bond reduction, promote import key, and set withdrawals credentials. So it was a really great update, and Joe says I reserve the right to change them before they go live because I have to add links to the docs I haven't written yet, and screenshot of the Grafana dashboard I haven't published yet, you know, the usual. So the docs are not finished, but this gives you a good idea of everything that's going to be going into version 1.9, which will be Rocket Pool's version that's ready for Shanghai. However, between 1.9 coming out and Shanghai going live, I'm sure there's going to be more client updates that are happening, just as there were around the merge time. So we'll probably get more updated versions of that, information. So there'll be like version 1.9.1, 1.9.2, probably like 1.9.3 maybe by the time Shanghai actually happens. So that's really cool. Okay, next we had some news that was kind of unfortunate from Agent Provocateur, who says, I just got slashed for double attestation. I don't understand. I'd rather service terminate on the current node. So, excuse me. So Agent Provocateur is a node operator with 2 mini pools, and they were trying to migrate from one system to another, and then they ran two commands on their old system, one to terminate and then another to purge. However, there was some information that wasn't clear to Agent Provocateur, and the purge command didn't work because he ran it after the terminate command. So that means that the machine was still attesting using his private keys. So when he ran his system on his new machine, he double attest, and he lost both his mini pools. They got slashed. So here you can see the 2 slashed mini pools, and then it got slashed. So he lost 1 ETH on each of those mini pools, and then he also lost. He's going to get an activity leak as well. So he's going to be losing a lot of ETH, sadly, over the next few weeks until he can exit that mini pool fully. But Superfizz had a good thread about staking. He said 226 out of 523,000 validators have been slashed, which is a minuscule amount, and it's not something that should worry the average node user that much, because 150 of those were actually from like professional setups and not home stakers. And then Fizz gives some good advice on how to clear your machine to make sure that it is fully turned off and you're ready for your new machine before you move over. And the main thing is slow down, take your time, make sure everything's happening the way it's supposed to happen, because you will otherwise, you don't want to make a mistake. Like, it's better to throw away 6 cents and miss attestations than lose $1,700 in a slashed ETH. So that was really good, a little thread there about just slowing down and take your time. And that was good, Fizz. Thank you for sharing that. Thankfully, the Rocket Pool community kind of like rallied around Agent Provocateur. People sent him RPL, and there was a POAP that cost, I think, $10 or something along those numbers, and a whole bunch of people bought that POAP as well to distribute to Agent Provocateur. So that was really good. Okay, next we had some news that we talked about last week about the Invis being banned from the Rocket Pool Discord, and then ideas about what he should do with his GMC position and whether he should be voted out or kept in. And to kind of preempt all of that, Invis actually ended up resigning from the GMC, and he says, "I hereby resign from the GMC as suggested in this thread, and this required transaction to remove myself from the GMC multisig has been created by me, and I will cease involvement in the internal GMC communication channels following this message. But the removal of my address also includes the reduction of the required confirmations to conform to the rules mentioned in RPIP 10. I agree with the arguments mentioned in favor of my resignation. Taking to a snapshot vote feels a bit too far for my liking. I should be able to act on my own before requiring outside enforcement. I hope that I may be able to rejoin the GMC in the future through the normal onboarding process, as I did enjoy my time as a GMC member. I hereby also remove myself from possible consideration for the 2023-02 February 23 nomination pool, as I would like some time between my resignation and possible rejoinment." And people said thank you for taking this decision, and it was well supported in the community. So good job, Invis. So then Invis leaving, Cal leaving, and then the GMC expanded led to a new vote in the GMC, where we're actually looking for 4 new members now. And then this vote will select 4 members serving on the Grants and Bounties Management Committee, the GMC, defined in RPIP 15 per the method in RPIP 10. And then there's a forum post for nominee information statements, supplementary nominee metrics, and discussion, including questions for the nominees. So currently we have Fornax, Shifrin, Dandachaka, Kevster, RPL Maxi, Anisoptera, and Underwood, who are running. And of those 6 people, 4 people can be elected. So you've got 2 weeks basically to get your votes in that you can do now. Also, we have another snapshot vote going at the moment, and this is for an update to RPIP 10. So this update includes setting up elections, yearly elections for the management committee positions, rules on how the vacancies get filled, how there should be a GMC election because none of the current members of the GMC are elected. So we should go through a new round of elections for the IMC, and then management committees may add a team as a backup signer, which is important if it's taking too long to get a transaction signed. And a line about the PDAO review of GMC membership was also removed from there as well. So 100% of people have voted in favor of this snapshot at the moment, but there's 2 weeks to go for this vote before it gets approved. So that's good. Please go and vote if you can, and make sure your delegate is voting if you can't. Okay, next we had this update from Maverick about the ETH Denver. So he says that the sponsorship is all finalized, and there's a couple of things that are important to get covered. And he says there'll be 2 POAPs available at Denver. One of them will be for people who have volunteered at the booth, and the second will be for people who are using the bicycle to power a node, which is like Power Ethereum, like a little activity that people can do. And then the volunteer roster has been updated, is now with the ETH Denver thread. And then there's times and dates of the Rocket Pool team being involved in ETH Denver shenanigans. So on Sunday the 26th, Fornax has his workshop. On Thursday the 2nd, there'll be a community call from official podcast booth. On Thursday the 2nd, Langers will be presenting the Shared Security Summit. On Thursday the 2nd again, Langers will be presenting keynote address during the official opening, and Mav hinted elsewhere that there'll be an announcement made during this keynote address, which the community has speculated will be the official date of the launch of Atlas. And then Friday the 3rd, Langers is presenting about liquid staking. Friday the 3rd again, there's a photo at the booth with all Rocket Pool team and volunteers, and Also on Friday, there's Dave will be presenting on the panel about ETH withdrawals, and then on Saturday, Langas will be presenting about node operation. And yeah, my volunteer assignment is actually, let's just have a look at the whole thing. So here you can see that there's a timetable, and there's some really cool members of the community that are volunteering. A lot of names that you probably know. There's like Superphase and D2, Fornax, Dondo, Sneaky, Object, Logic Beach. Like there's Shifrin and a whole bunch of other people. Sorry if I didn't read your name out. There's just like 50 names, and myself as well, of course. So that's going to be really nice to spend time at the booth. So I'm arriving on the afternoon of March 2nd, so I'll be there maybe towards the end of the day at the booth on Thursday, but then on Friday, Saturday and Sunday I'll be there like the whole time. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, and then next we had this tweet from Jasper, who got a little bit ahead of himself, but it's really exciting news, so I thought I'd cover it in today's episode. So he says, today the Rocket Pool GMC sent ClimateDAO payment to make Rocket Pool a carbon neutral protocol. Since before launch, supporting public goods has been core principle of the protocol and community. Several client teams serve on the oDAO. This contribution is one step further. So there's a cost for the Ethereum, the carbon footprint of the Ethereum address. It says this contract received or initiated 11,000 ETH transactions, consuming 2.4 billion tons of gas in total. Consuming 2.4 billion gas, not tons of gas. In total, this contract is responsible for 600,000 kilograms of CO2 emissions. So we, as the GMC, have paid that off, and now Rocket Pool is the first Ethereum liquid staking token project that is carbon neutral, which is fantastic. So speaking of Ethereum liquid staking tokens and protocols, there was a launch this week by Stader, who launched the new product, which is a liquid staking token on one side, ETHX, and node operators on the other side, and how they're working. So they had a tweet thread about how they want to maximize decentralization, and how they are doing it in a way that is only need 4 ETH to start up their equivalent of the mini pool, and then you'll only need 0.4 ETH worth of their governance token to start the mini pool as well, their version of a mini pool. So there's some slight differences that they're talking about, and then they're comparing it to like the other players in the ecosystem. However, one of the things that people started realizing really quickly was a lot of the code that was in their repositories was copied from the Rocket Pool code, and it was pretty much like directly lifted in parts where they didn't even make minor changes. And then Nixo had this tweet. It says, forking repos is good. It's why open source is great, because we can iterate and improve on work, but probably best to say, hey, we're a clone of this other protocol and here's why we've improved, rather than wait for the community to start recognizing vestigial code you've got to remove. And then Nixo says, I honestly think if someone set out to clone Rocket Pool and said, we're forking and I think we can do better, people would watch it with anticipation and cheer on the competition. I definitely would, but doing it all sneaky like feels a little weird. And I totally agree with Nixo on this. The Stader community has like a canned response that they've been responding to everyone by saying, we're in a beta, and the main thing will be out in March, and there's a lot of code that we've developed ourselves and stuff like that. However, there's a few other big red flags that have been coming up about how they're not acknowledging licensing when using open source code and other things like that. So it's definitely some red flags there. As you can see, the screenshot, the code, the screen is exactly the same, even on the back end. Like some of the contracts are copied and pasted, I think. So the Smartnode stack pretty much looks like all of that was copied. But if you want to become a Stader node operator or hold their token, then definitely this is a word of caution. There seems to be some red flags around that whole protocol, so please interact with it at your own risk. But on that note, I'm going to end this weekly recap. I will see you probably not next week because I will be in Denver, but probably the week after that I'll have an episode for you all. So have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.